Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3Live. Welcome to today's recap. So we came in this morning, futures were down 7 to 9 handles. Weren't sure how to handle it. First down day in a while. No real flag saying it was going to happen except for that we were very extended. Big move from the prior breakout, extending, incrementally higher. So every now and then they like to shake it up. The question was, was it buyable? Was it just cover some of your hedges? Was it add to your hedges? There were a few different questions to be had. For me, I came in short the banks. I had some hedges on with the spiders short, and I had multiple longs. So what I chose to do is just basically sell the FAS. Cover the FAS, sell the FAZ, cover the FAS. But I didn't buy the banks back yet because I just wasn't sure. They're still well above their 10-day moving average, but they went positive first. But by reading between the lines and seeing Bank of America strong, Goldman Sachs strong, I was able to cover, make some money. I actually covered a little bit on the close yesterday, so you really had to be a surgeon to make money in that bank short. So that just tells you how strong that trend is and how not to fight it. As far as the S&P, the spiders, I went over a few different areas. This morning I talked about the upper floor. Maybe that's a spot to cover some hedges, but then a better spot to buy would be the 10-day. We only tested the upper floor. I think we talked about 139.40 to 139.70. So let's just start running through some charts. So if you look here at the spiders first, you will see this was basically what we drew this morning. Here's your macro trend line that's still well intact. Came close to testing it, a few weeks back, and then once we pop back up here, that was your pretty much clue, plus other indices making highs, was to get back involved. We broke above this resistance, and then look right here. Let's take a real closer look here, because here you have this upper floor. So the question was, what was going to happen here? What kind of retracement were we going to have once we broke this small ascending, little micro channel? Because you want to do all time frames here. Some people who trade micro channels, that's what you had this morning. We broke below, but look what we held. We held the floor. The low here was 139.76. The low here was 139.48. So when I tweeted this morning saying the first floor is 139.40 to 139.70, that's how I came up with that number. I tried to look at prior points of reference. Okay, and then here's your 10-day, and the 10-day, which it didn't even come close to, was all the way down at around 139.01. And as you move forward with time, the 10-day moves up. So what I would do now is, get rid of these lines, and this is the new little pattern here. Okay, you have a nice upper area that could turn into somewhat of a channel, as we consolidate another move, as we go sideways up here to consolidate this last prior move. But at least now we have some points of reference. If you remember, during the course of this rally, when we followed this whole momentum channel, every time we made a new high, it took a few times to build the floor before we went again. Build the floor before we went again. Build the floor before we went again. This time it took a longer period of time because of the range we just traveled. So right here, to make a new high, it's going to take some time maybe to do some sideways action. But within that sideways action, you have a ton of setups. You have some cute longs, you have some, not cute longs, more like cute shorts, and you have some longs today. There's one thing I want to say, because I'm a media guy, I'm a talking head also, and I've definitely been wrong from time to time, and I know when I buy stuff and I trail it and I have stops. It's one thing to revenge a call. I feel like for the last 2 weeks, guys have been trying to say we're getting toppy, we're going to hit a top. Ever since we actually hit that 1340, they weren't ready to buy back. It was a shallow retracement, and they've been rolling up their shorts, and they keep trying to call a top. Same way with Apple. A lot of guys trying to short Apple. Now the event's the sellable event. Now we could sell the market because they announced their dividend. You know what? It's not the case now, and it starts to hurt the retail investor or guys who are trying to stay involved because it scares them. So until the market really changes, stay with it. And at this point, there are some shorts that work, but really the trade is to be long multiple positions that you like on a macro level and then add to them for cash flow. So with that said, the chart of the spider is still intact. If you go take a look right here, if you look at the chart of Apple, okay, again, it actually didn't get this low. Okay, it was as low as I believe like 582, and now it closed at highs. And people calling a top in the media that's trusted, you're getting investors out of it probably. But anyway, with this said, you can't really aggressively be by it, but it's still in a trend. It's still strong. I wouldn't even call this that parabolic. I just think it's actually just very, very strong. There is a trend here, okay, and here is a bit more of an accelerated trend. So it is hard to grab, but at this particular point, there are good trades there. And if you look at the 5-minute chart, okay, to see how it transpired today, again, because I've been doing this every day, here was, where is this morning? Okay, let's go to this morning. This morning, you had a little bit of a gap down. Okay, it did diverge a little bit. I even said I'm not really involved, but it's showing a little weakness. Then it came back up. Okay, it got pretty tight. Okay, so if you wanted to draw somewhat of a wedge type pattern here that took place, it took actually a lot longer. Sometimes it's taken about 60 minutes. This time it only took about, this time it took actually a few hours, so 12 o'clock until it started to extend. But then really, once it crossed the highs of the day right here, this is where, it got a little powerful. Okay, and then it went sideways again, which was right around, the prior high, which is at 601.70, and then pow, it wound up closing pretty well. And it can continue. So if you short this thing, and you're a trader, if you keep rolling it up and you don't cover, you can get put out of business. Okay, so just don't be trying to revenge a call. Just say, okay, it's not ready, move on. And then, with other stocks, like I particularly didn't like the pattern on Amazon. I've been saying it's been lagging on a relative weakness basis. It's probably going to, go to the downside, but we need to trade below 175 to 177 for that to happen. So last month I bought puts because I know if I'm short Amazon and I get stubborn, I'm going to keep cost averaging it up and I'm going to be wrong and I could lose a lot of money. So I know at least if the trade ignites, I'll have puts, I'll make money, and what I lose is my premium paid. But they expired last month. And as you see by my virtual floor, I haven't had any position in Amazon because I'm like, you know what? It's putting in an apex. I don't know which way it's going to go. And if this market stays strong, Amazon has a mind of its own where it could just come back. And we listed 186 to 187, on the price point sheet and a few times and off the charts. Then finally today, Sperling was all over it, talking the whole floor through it. I was tweeting about it because I was out in a meeting. And look at what Amazon did today. So you didn't have to really have an opinion. All you had to do is have a plan. And here was this little tight range. Okay, here's your series of high, lower, high, and then it started perking up. It never broke this small uptrend, so it never gave you that trade and that follow through. That's why my puts went worthless. And then today, once it crossed this pivot here of this was 188.38, we actually not say cheated a little bit, but we talked about this level getting above like 186 and change. So I think everyone started buying it around here, adding to here. There was one level to sell right around this 190 to 193, and that's a nice move. This trade saved a lot of people's day. Okay, a lot of people who, were like, okay, I'm a trader, I'm not going to have an opinion. My opinion is that it should go lower. It didn't participate in the rallies because that was my opinion. What do I know? But then once it resolved to the upside, you jump on. If you don't believe in it, you do a little less. Okay, and a lot of guys made a lot of money with Amazon today. Now we'll see what happens from here, and then we'll see what happens and where we are getting close to earnings, and we'll figure it out from there. The calculated trade this morning was Netflix. What do? What does a good book say? Stock goes out strong on the prior day. When we open up down, and if it's not news based on that stock, you look for a negative to positive trade, and maybe even through the prior day high. So that's why today I'm like, with Netflix, I'm coming in long. I'm going to see if I can add to it when it's negative. If it goes positive and pushes through the prior day's high of like 115, you'll get some cash flow, you sell some, and then you figure it out. And with Netflix, it was a nice trade. You had to be real quick. Okay, but a lot of people were prepared. And where did it go? It went right to this prior resistance. So not a bad spot to sell some, but this was a nice trade. And this was the early morning trade. Okay, this was the first 5 to 30-minute trade where Amazon was the mid-afternoon trade, and so is Apple. Okay, as far as the short that I was talking about, you had to really be a surgeon. This was support one, high up support. I was talking about even it could get down here. Thank God I do things a little early. I was covering pre-market around 108, and then once I saw Goldman Sachs go positive, once I saw Bank of America, get stronger, I'm like, you know what? This retracement's not going to be so big. Let me just take my money and run and figure it out. But then I also was just comfortable saying I'm not going to rebuy the banks because I'm not sold that that's the low. So at least half the trade was right. Some guys were saying, oh, but there's no way. These things have to go lower. They have to go lower. And you know what? Now they're caught short, and they turned a good trade from yesterday afternoon from 112 down to 108 into a potential loser or into a stressful situation, which is what you don't want to do. As far as some other trades, LVS got hit on the China news. Not the end of the world. I'm still there. I didn't think it would get hit so hard, but some guys sold into this strength when it cleared this last pivot. So if you were in tier 1, no big deal. I think as long as it stays above this 56.20, I think it's still strong. Win, I haven't been trading, but I'll put up real quick. It too, actually, this came off the lows even better, so that's fine. Caesar, I'm still staying with, and I still think it's holding in pretty well. You see it here. This was the day we got involved. It's holding the top third. I wish they would announce a secondary already, because then it can go. But overall, I don't think people are scared with it. Above this 1330 or so, it could get going. LinkedIn. Here's another, just a example here. Okay. We've been trying to, play LinkedIn or trade LinkedIn for a while. Okay. Bring it on me. We had a nice trade when it went above 87, another one above 91, and then it stalled at 94, 95. And then I held a tier that was kind of painful to hold, and this morning I got stopped out. My line in the sand was like 88, 50 to 89 in the morning because I wasn't sure if the market was going to trace further. I said, I'm going to get out. I'm going to clean up positions. Just clean them up. Big deal. You could always buy them back. And they're only feelers anyway, and if we were going to retrace for more, you don't need to have 8 to 15 positions. You have 4 to 5 that you can control, and you can control your risk a little bit. So I got stopped out early in the morning, and then when I came back, it put in a little red dog reversal. So I'm like, oh my goodness, if I am not involved for what could be a bigger move, I'm going to be so upset. And the old red dog would have been like, no, I'm not trading it. The stock just lost me money. It got me. Instead, I was like, you know what? It wasn't ready. I followed my rules. I stopped myself out. I took a loss in the morning. It's a new trade now. So you go to LinkedIn, and you see this little pattern that that I like. First of all, here's the resistance going across. This is at 94, 95. And then what kind of pattern do you have right here? Everyone knows what this is. This actually got me. It got me in the pattern. I talk about the red dog reversal where it trades through a level, right? Stops people out like it did to me this morning. I got stopped out. I was upset. And then comes back above, and then people like me this morning say, what do I do now? So when it recrossed this level of 89.50, I wasn't even there to buy it, but some guys on the floor were, so I'm happy for them because they know the rules. And now I'm back in maybe a tier 1, and if it starts to cross above this descending channel, kind of like it did here, look at this. This was like a small reversal day here before the inside day, so maybe tomorrow we get an inside day. And then it could continue. So I'm back in. And it's definitely not the easiest trade out there, but we'll see what happens. Zynga also, if you remember 2 weeks ago in the secondary, I got stopped out because I was like, I don't know how this is going to trade. No, I'm not going to lose this time. Get back over here. Oh, lost it. Anyway, so I got stopped out of this trade. Remember, here's your shooting star top. This was actually a sell signal that I was somewhat blind to. Because remember I was long in this, and then I sold some into that, and I held a trailer, but got stopped out because it sort of broke this mini wedge to the downside. But it held this support level, still holding in there, coming off the low. So I'm back in a tier 2. Doesn't seem like people are that worried about the potential secondary, so I'll stay with it. Okay, and then once it's out of the way, I'll see what acts. And guys are still saying $20 before Facebook. We'll see what happens, but there's a lot of potential here for this stock. As far as, just say even putting up a Bank of America, I don't have my trusty little thing to expand it. Let's see, can I do it this way? Oh, there you go. Not that good with this little thing here, but here you go. It could have went down further, and now it's holding, like some of the other banks, this upper level. And at this point, let's see, with a bit more time, maybe I'll get back into it. If it could flag longer, the next time it gets above 1001 or 1005, perhaps it's a buy, and then you see a better move to bigger resistance, which could be right around here, right around this 13 or so. But first time, remember we said 980 to 1027, it's probably more of a sell than a buy. So now we'll just figure it out from here. As far as some of the ags, they were strong today. If you look here, I drew this morning that this could happen here, but it didn't quite happen yet. But if you look here, remember when the volume and everything came in on Friday, it was strong, told you that it can go higher. Then you had an inside day yesterday, and it held half. Remember, I'm like, if pot's a little different this time. I haven't drawn on this chart in a while. I said it would hold this area, and it held. Didn't look at it today. And then, but guys were like, oh, Red Dog, pot went above Friday's high. I'm adding. So that was 46.20, and they had a nice trade, and now it's back at resistance. So maybe it needs to go sideways a little bit again before going. But this is a kind of an example of guys that don't fully understand the site, because again, we send out our information to affiliates, to Twitter, to Facebook, all around. We give away the morning call and the recap to those around, so you can see what we're all about, so you can learn more. I am the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live. I am the offensive coordinator. I make the majority of my money as a trader, but with my obligations of being on, in the media, whether it's CNBC, Bloomberg, wherever it is, I'm not always involved in everything that I give a strategy for. Things you see on off the charts at night, things you see on the price point sheet. There will be trades that trigger and happen and work without me. But at times, because of my risk tolerance and because I can't be in front of my desk, I might not be in them. So just because you don't see me in them on the virtual trade floor or talk about them, it doesn't mean it's not going to work. Like with POT and some of the ags, I wasn't in that group today. I can't be in everything. But you guys were like, oh, you said this. Why aren't you in it? Because I said this is the strategy. This is the play. The quarterback's going out for the pass. I'm just not the wide receiver this time. You could run the route. You've learned how to catch the ball. You know how to look for the speed. You know when it's going high. You know if the defender's on you. You've been taught all these tricks in a lot of our active trader courses, and in our active trader course, our momentum trader course, and our fundamental trader course. So we've given you the courses so you know the playbook. So when you see the play develop, you can grab it without me. So when I come back and I see everyone talking in the chat about all these trades that they had and that I missed, I'm just excited that you guys are doing it on your own, without just say the hand holding, because we're not always there to hold your hand. That's why we have a community. So that's good. So off that page, because a lot of people don't know us as well and are being introduced to us, the fact of the matter is we throw out a lot of good tradable, actionable plays out there. Consistently they work. We use that tier system on conviction, and then we trail them and we get stopped out if we're wrong, and we don't revenge them. And there's also about 8 to 10 of us that you could follow, so you could figure out who your style is and who you want to be more like and where your risk tolerance comes into play. So a few more charts here. Gold still isn't doing anything. I haven't really looked at it. It's not really worth your time. It's still just trending lower. We'll figure it out at another time. TBT, I'm still involved there also. Just flagging now. Here was that trade when I got long. I'm staying with it. It's still holding higher. It's a little sloppy, but again, these aren't blockbuster type trades here. These are just concepts to hold, and I'm going to stay with it, especially as long as it stays above 2050. And I guess if you have a little less risk, use this as your stop. You can move it up, and then at some particular point, it'll trade through here for another move to fill this gap. TLT, on the opposite side, that was the short end of it. It's still not really much of a bounce here, guys. Remember we said if you want to cover some after this move all the way down to this 110, see how it acts, measure the move. Well, right now it's trying to hold around here, but you're not seeing any kind of potent bounce, so that could lead to further downside. So with all that said, you don't have to chase excitement, you don't have to be in everything, but you don't want to fight it. If you have an idea or an opinion and it's not confirmed by the market, change it. It's no big deal. You'll have another opinion, you'll have another plan, and at some point the market will confirm it, you'll be right and you'll make money. But if you fight it, you're going to get hurt. There were some guys that fought Amazon today and they really got their cleaned because they had an opinion and they didn't see which way that apex was resolving. So with all that said, there's still a lot of great action. There's a lot of good sector rotation. I actually did buy Microsoft today. You had a 3-day pullback in Microsoft. So if you look here, I thought maybe this would be worth a tier 1, into the 20-day. So with that said, I was waiting for an entry. Here's one. Perhaps, they want to shake the tree and get it a little bit further down to this area. So that's why I only did a tier 1. So I bought a little bit here, and I'll add a little bit there. I don't think this is, even though I said 32 to 34 way back here, I thought would be the projection for Microsoft. I do think that this wasn't the high. So here's a little bit of a pullback to buy. Google. Oh, you know what? I want to show you. Baidu. I know today was weak, early on, but it still hung around. It's still in this little minor range. It's still getting tighter. So this is still on the radar for what could be a better buy above 140 later this week. Sohu came on my radar. It closed strong. It's in this gap. I do think that it has some more room. Some sales traders like it. I don't really love this stock. I think it's choppy, but it could continue into this. And also, I do believe that Ren might be on fast money. Guys in the Twitter sphere were talking about it. So with this tight base right here and a little bit of a move, I did buy some. We'll see what happens if it could finally get going. But overall, this has been a very, not a great stock, but it could always change if they want to run something, into Facebook. And this was supposed to be the Chinese Facebook, but obviously it hasn't proven that. It's got a lot to prove. So I guess now I'll wrap it up, but I just want to say, be flexible, take your trades. Longs and shorts are working. There's a ton of opportunity in the market, but you're not going to see it with opinions, by being miserable, by dragging people down around you. You're going to see it if you have a positive attitude, if you're a realist, if you take accountability, and you move forward. See you tomorrow morning. Stephanie Link is coming on tomorrow. I'm very proud to have her. She's unbelievable the way she approaches the market with a fundamental thesis. She's given us all the ability to look at other sectors versus just the high beta tech and the names we used to follow, and also giving us a basis to hold things longer so we can let the market make us money besides just creating that cash flow. We'll see you in the morning. Have a good night.